He's fighting for his dear life here.
Throttle, he's really going for a shot here.
We yo-yo and stack up, but the bandit sees that. Hey everybody, the Nines here. Just another IL-2 dogfighter. I've been playing IL-2 for about 4 years and mostly focused on air-to-air combat. You can find me on Twitch at _Nines_.
Hey guys, Geronim0 here. Just a little bit about myself. I started flight simming about 5 years ago with War Thunder Realistic Battles. Then about 2 years ago I transitioned over to IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad, which was my first real sim. Since then I've put about 3,000 hours into the game, mostly in multiplayer. I've been shot down quite a bit, and I like to say I'm a pretty decent pilot by now. I do have a YouTube channel. I don't post there very often, but feel free to check it out.
Hello, I'm the Sheriff, and you might know me from Sheriff's Sim Shack. And I also have a cold, so my voice sounds pretty weird. But other than that, let's get cracking and let's get the clip started.
Alright, this fight is Enigma in a BB engine K4 versus a P51 with 150 octane. Enigma's only real advantage in the K4 here is going to be climb rate. The P51 is going to be slightly more maneuverable and faster as well. So this fight's going to be determined by how well Enigma leverages that one advantage he has.
Alright, so we have somebody on our 6. He is well out of gun range. He's lower than us, but he's aware of us. So we can do a few things here. Namely, we can pull him into a rope-a-dope.
And Enigma spots the P51 there, approaching low stakes with lots of speed. So he's going straight into the vertical. This is perfect. He really needs to equalize the energy states.
Absolutely right thing. He's spiraling up above the Mustang. The Mustang has a much lower climb rate in such a situation especially, and the K4 has a fantastic climb rate, so climbing above him is great. On top of the climb, Enigma dives on the Mustang, which is also pretty great, and we see that the Mustang now decreased a little bit of altitude, put the nose down and got a little bit of speed there. And you can also see how the distance between the K4 and the Mustang is still pretty great. And an experienced pilot sees in this moment here that the distance is too great to the Mustang, so the K4 will pick up too much speed, and this shot is borderline impossible. Another thing is that this potentially opens up an opportunity for the Mustang to open energy trap, and that the Mustang can equal out the energy state a bit better.
Alright, this is our first look at our attack line, and we can see that the aspect is pretty terrible. From here, I would probably abort the attack. At this range and at this aspect, we don't have much hope of being able to reverse into his flight path without falling past him in an overshoot.
He's going to cut throttle. He's really going for a shot here. He's never going to get it. The P51 is just going a lot slower than him at this point, and he's going to have to pull so many beats to stay in. He realizes that, pulls the throttle again and extends.
So Enigma gets no guns on, but does the right thing again and zoom through, trying to position himself above the Mustang.
Enigma takes him into the vertical here, where he could do a much more mellow climb that would exhaust the bandit's energy further. But he's better control over the top this time.
Mistake here. I don't know if you could call it a mistake, but I think it would have been better to wait up here a little bit. So basically, trying to climb up and then stick up there a little bit longer at minimum speed, I don't know, maybe 250 or 270 kph, and just observe what the Mustang does below him. Very often opponents try to zoom up to you and trying to get you there, and when you wait a little bit, they stall, and then you have a good opportunity to strike. If you come down like Enigma here and to strike right away, this allows the enemy to still maintain some momentum and allows enemy to dodge the attack.
And the P51 is going to level out, try to regain some speed, and get prepared for a defensive break, maybe even an overshoot. Enigma is coming back down again. The P51 sees him. It's going to be really hard to get a shot.
Pulls into lag pursuit on the bandit, but at a far enough range that the bandit will be able to turn hard.
Enigma tried to make this dive work somehow, and was turning after the Mustang dodged this attack, and has in the process bled a lot of speed, but still can't make this turn happen really, and is overshooting the Mustang quite significantly again.
He does. We yo-yo and stack up, but the bandit sees that extra turning room and it pulls vertically toward us and then reverses. Alright, we get a flash of the bandit's belly here, which means he's already performed a lead turn against us. This means he'll be facing the same direction as us after we pass his flight path, which is going to be at about 90 degrees off, so we've already overshot pretty much at this point. The thing to think about here is escape. Get low, get fast, reset the fight.
He should have just kept extending away. He had so much more energy than P-51. Any shot he did get there was going to be really hard to make, and that high-speed left-hand turn was just going to lose him a ton of energy instead of extending and resetting. And once the P-51 did get the overshoot, I don't know why he cut his throttle like that. He still had plenty of energy just to extend away. The P-51 might have gotten a shot in, but it would not have been anything near effective.
Depart, whether on purpose or otherwise, it flushes the bandit out in front of us a bit, and the bandit could wait longer till we fall lower, but decides to attack almost immediately, and we get ourselves a semi-vertical rolling scissor with the bandit higher speed, so he flushes out even further.
And Enigma struggling with the G's again.
Enigma gets a shooting opportunity. Alright, so we pulled into lag pursuit on the bandit, and out in front of us, he was in a left-hand turn, and he reverses to a right. This gives us a big opportunity, and I think it was a big mistake by the bandit, because it prolongs this scissor fight that we've been going into, where I think the 51 would do better in a rate fight against the K4. Enigma could go lag here, but instead he decides to cut the corner, shoot from distance, and go for a yo-yo.
Pull all these G's to stay in. Especially at these high speeds as well in these tight turns, the K4 does not keep its energy very well with a slat.
We can't quite pull the nose authority to cut it. So now we're in a stall climbing situation. I wouldn't recommend a 51 do this against a K4.
What a stall shot. Yeah, but again, pretty difficult shot here.
Enigma's out of energy, so he has to go nose low now.
Now Enigma is using, I don't know, what was it 82% throttle or so? So you have 10 minutes of all-out power in the K4, and in such a situation you want to get all the power you have in your aircraft, especially against an aircraft like the Mustang, which suffers at lower speeds. And the K4 has the advantage that it's relatively light compared to the Mustang, so you want to get all the power. Another thing is, if you want to reduce power a little bit to tightening the turn at times, you should go below 80% throttle, which is 1.45 ATA or so, because you run into the danger of damaging the engine, because at that intermediate throttle position, the MW50 is not feeding. So you basically blow up your engine after, I don't know, a minute or two at that power setting.
Keeps pushing for these risky shots. He's going to keep losing more and more energy, and the 51's going to develop more and more of an advantage. And another little cheeky shot here.
So he's basically still in this absolutely knife fight.
At this point, I think the best move would be to take the nose-to-nose merge and extend and maybe reset the fight, or start a rope-a-dope with the K4's better climbing abilities. But Enigma's going to stay in the fight.
At this point in time, if I was Enigma, I'd probably focus on trying to find a way out of the situation. We're slowing down the fight. We're going to get close to stall speeds pretty soon, and the K4 just does not fly very well in this envelope. Its engine torque just throws it around at the speeds, and the slats are constantly deployed, constantly draining your energy. The P-51 just keeps its energy a lot nicer in this type of fight, and I just don't see Enigma developing enough energy to be able to gain an advantage again at this point.
We have good geometry here as the Bandit started a horizontal turn while we were still in the vertical, so it gives us the opportunity to cut a corner, but we don't end up making it. Bandit continues to scissor instead of wrapping around Enigma in the rate fight, which keeps him in front of Enigma's nose and provides him with more shooting opportunities. Takes a shot, gets a hit.
'51 stalls out a lot nicer right onto Enigma 6, and there's not a ton Enigma can do at this point, other than drop the throttle and throw flaps and hope the P-51 overshoots. What he's doing here. P-51 gets a shot into his foil there, And at this point, Enigma is a dead man walking. There's not much he can do. He does force the overshoot here. The P51 goes straight back to the vertical though, and Enigma just doesn't have the energy to follow. He tries to, ends up stalling out again, and the P51 is just gonna come back in on a 6, and Enigma has no energy here. He's never gonna be able to shake this P51. It's just a matter of time before 51 gets a shot in and kills him. And we get that here with a fire.
Didn't have to end that way. I think Enigma, if he had taken more advantage of his climbing abilities and possibly reconfigured his aircraft a little bit with maybe flaps or trim to get a little more nose authority at low speeds, he might have been able to pull more shooting opportunities out of the ones he had, or better ones out of the opportunities he did get.
So I don't want to talk about the knife fighting bit. Enigma could have made the shot at times, maybe, but I think realistically this fight was not winnable in the knife fight later, at least not realistically. I mean, not reliably, let's put it that way. There were 2 moments where he could have made better decisions, and those 2 moments were basically on top of the zoom climbs on both situations. Because in both moments you can wait a little bit longer and wait up there a little bit more patient and see what the enemy does and how it ticks basically, and you can basically read the enemy a bit, so you can maybe time your attacks a bit better. But Enigma rushed the attack in, stalled out a couple of times, tried to make very tight turns with the K4, which is at times doable, but at the same time it's maybe the worst turning 109 out there. With a G14 or a G6 late this would have been much easier, but the K4 is kind of difficult. So yeah, those were the 2 moments in my opinion. In the zoom climb on the top of it, in those moments observing the enemy, giving yourself more time, not pressing the attack so hard would have been more beneficial and would have saved his life here. But this is it for me for now, and I'm looking forward to see the video.
Before I give my thoughts, I want to thank the guests for commenting on the fight. I just want to remind everyone that this format is not possible without the guests, so please check out their Twitch or YouTube channels. The links are in the description. The selection of this fight was very purposeful in order to contrast my last video where I advocated people to experiment with aggression. You can find that video in the top right. I think flying aggressively in flight sims is fun, and I think it can yield results, but it can backfire. When you tip the balance too far toward aggression, which is what happened in this fight, you can end up getting burned. While having an energy advantage over this Mustang, I made passes and pulled up in the vertical, and he continued to evade the attacks. Half frustration of him evading my passes, and half wanted to see how the K4 would knife fight against this particular P51, I started to get more aggressive. With every shot that I barely missed, I started to bait myself into a more definitive position where it was all or nothing instead of retaining options. As Sheriff mentioned, the more reliable thing would have been to just stay high and continue making passes. I consciously told myself that I was going to commit, and unlike what the Nines and Geronim0 suggested, I did not decide to exit the fight. I continued to press it, and I was determined to end things. Do I think this fight could have ended differently? Definitely. But it doesn't really change the point. Those are shots that I could have hit, and it would have ended the fight, but the safer option would have just been to not rely on making really hard shots. Even if I hit that shot, I could have been jumped by someone else because I was so focused on the target. So it's always good to balance out the aggression with options. If you enjoyed this video, please consider helping by hitting the like button and leaving a comment. It's the best way to help this channel. And if you would like to see more of these videos, please subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah.